For what purpose does the gentlewoman from Massachusetts seek recognition?
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent to address the House for 1 minute.
Without objection, the gentlewoman is recognized for 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I rise today in opposition to the occupant of the White House. Mr. Trump, you took an oath, just as I did 5 days ago, to protect and defend the Constitution and the American people. Sir, you dishonor that oath. You devalue the life of the immigrant, the worker, and the survivor. I see right through you, and so do the American people. This has nothing to do with border security. Your shutdown, another Trump-generated crisis, has brought a tsunami of hurt to the American people. So today I rise to lift the voices of the unheard. I rise today on behalf of the families concerned about feeding their children because their WIC benefits will run dry. I rise today in solidarity with the thousands of workers with calloused hands and broken spirits working for no pay. I rise today in support of the survivor fleeing violent hands, seeking safety only to find the shelter door locked because of your shutdown. I rise today in support of the American people who believe in the promise of this nation and ask for honest pay for an honest day's work. Today I rise as one and I stand as thousands. Thank you, and I yield back.
Members are reminded to refrain from engaging in personalities toward the president.
Illinois, Ms. Underwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There are a lot of lawyers in this room, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm a nurse. Madam Secretary, I want to be very clear about what the family separation policy is doing to children's mental and physical health. And I want to know if DHS even considered their health when developing these policies. So I only have 5 minutes, so for these questions, I'm looking for a yes or no answer, if you could. When you officially began family separation in spring 2018, were you aware of research showing it causes trauma that can do both immediate and long-term damage to children's health?
The information that I was aware of at the time was that the trauma is part of the journey to come up to the border illegally.
Okay, so again, we're looking for yes or no answers, ma'am.
That was what I do know within the context of the question.
Okay, and were you aware that the trauma of family separation is connected to something called toxic stress?
I'm not familiar with that term, no.
Okay, were you aware that toxic stress can actually change a child's brain because it's still developing?
I wasn't familiar with the term.
Okay, were you aware that the effects of these traumas are cumulative, that they get worse the longer the trauma goes on?
Yes, sorry. I'd like to clarify because we're missing a bigger point here, but yes, ma'am, I'm sorry. Respectfully,
okay.
Let me answer your questions.
Were you aware that the traumatic effects don't go away even if a child is reunited with their family?
I understand that they are, no.
Okay. Were you aware that family separation can lead to behavioral changes and learning delays for children?
Just to be clear, family separation includes the 60,000 UACs who were separated by their parents before they ever got to the border.
I understand. My question is about the traumatic effects.
So let me just say this, and maybe it will help you with your questions. Families need to be put together. Children should never be put in this situation. We need to fix the system so that they're not.
Thank you. Were you aware that family separation can lead to behavioral changes and learning delays for children?
Again, kids should be with their families.
Okay, so I will take that as a no. Were you aware that it increases a child's risk of heart disease, diabetes, and cancer?
I would ask all parents to go to ports of entry, not to separate their children and send them on the journey alone, and not to break U.S. law.
Thank you. Were you aware that it increases a child's risk of anxiety, depression, and substance abuse? As a reminder, these are yes or no questions.
Ma'am, if I could just cut to the chase, I think we're agreeing. Children need to be with their families. We need to fix the system so that we can enable them to do that.
Ma'am, I'm trying to ascertain your knowledge, your prior knowledge of the health impacts of these children when they are separated at the border. The American Psychological Association reports that family separation is on par with beating and torture in terms of its relationship to mental health. Were you aware of that research prior to instituting the policy of family separation?
There is no policy of family separation. What we did was increase the number of parents that we referred for prosecution. That is what we have done for the last 3 administrations.
Thank you. I'll take that as a no.
Law.
Let's go back even further to the El Paso pilot program for family separation that reportedly began in 2017. Yes or no, did DHS consult with any pediatric health experts before beginning the pilot?
I was not at DHS at that time. I was there in July. I was not aware of the pilot at that time, and then I was working in a different department.
Okay, so that would be no.
No, ma'am, I just can't speak to it. I wasn't there. I
Okay.
can't speak to what I don't know.
Thank you. Yes or no, did DHS collect or analyze any medical data from the pilot program to evaluate how family separation affects a child's physical and mental health?
Yes, as I said, I have an advisory council looking at it right now who includes a well-known doctor who is looking at these issues.
Can you provide a copy of that data and DHS's analysis to our committee?
Of course, their report is not finished, but it's a FACA body, so everything is public.
Great. Did you consult with any pediatric experts before the policy officially began in the spring of 2018?
We generally and regularly work with them. As you know, the children are cared for by Health and Human Services.
Right.
But to the extent that we have children in DHS detention centers, we follow all guidelines by the AMA.
Right.
We work very closely with the medical community.
Okay, so then would you provide a copy of that communication from DHS with those experts to the committee?
Sure, anything
Okay.
that's available.
Thank you. So the American Academy of Pediatrics wrote to DHS 6 times to explain how family separation hurts children and made a number of public statements. Yes or no, are you aware of those warnings?
I am, which is why I continue to ask this committee to work with me so that parents do not separate their children. There were 60,000 last year that were separated by their parents. We are talking about 2,000 children that resulted from their parents choosing to break the law, which is why I've continually asked parents to go to a port of entry.
Thank you. So from what I've heard today, I'm not sure if DHS was so negligent that they didn't know how traumatic family separation was for children, or if they knew and did it anyways. But in my opinion, both are unacceptable. Tearing kids and their parents apart like this is immoral. Ma'am, it's un-American and it's just plain wrong. Thank you for holding this hearing, Mr. Chairman, and Secretary Nielsen. I'll be following up. I yield back.
So, sir, I'd like to respond briefly, if I could.
Children from U.S. citizen mothers as well. Put them with domestic abusers.
Senator Chuck Grassley, let's listen in.
On the nomination of
Mr.
Judge
Chairman.
Brett Kavanaugh
Mr. Chairman.
to serve as Associate Justice.
Mr. Chairman,
on the
I'd like to be
Supreme Court
recognized
of the
for a
United
question
States.
before we proceed. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to be recognized to ask a question before we proceed. The committee received just last night, less than 15 hours ago, 42,000 pages of documents that we have not had an opportunity to review or read or analyze.
You're out of order. I'll proceed.
We cannot possibly move forward, Mr. Chairman,
I
with this
extend
hearing.
a very warm
We
welcome
have not
to
been
Judge
given
Kavanaugh,
an opportunity to have a meaningful
his wife,
hearing on
Ashley.
this nominee.
Their 2 daughters.
Mr. Chairman,
Their
I
extended
agree with my
family and
colleague,
friends.
Senator Harris. Mr. Chairman,
Judge
we
Kavanaugh's
received
many law
42,000
clerks
documents that we haven't
and
been able
everyone else
to
joining us
review last
today.
night, and we believe this hearing should
I
be
know this is an
postponed.
exciting day for all of you here, and you're rightly proud
Mr. Chairman,
of
if
Judge.
we cannot be recognized, I move to adjourn.
The American people.
Mr. Chairman, I move
get
to adjourn.
Hear directly from Judge Kavanaugh later this afternoon.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn. Mr. Chairman, we have been denied real access to the documents we need to advise.
Mr. Chairman,
and
regular
defend,
order is called for.
which turns this hearing into a charade and a mockery of our norms.
Well-
and Mr. Chairman, I therefore move to adjourn this hearing.
Okay.
This is a mockery and a travesty of justice. This is a travesty of justice. We will not go back. Cancel Brett Kavanaugh. Adjourn the hearing.
We're not in executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I ask for a roll call vote on my motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn. I ask for a roll call vote.
We're not in executive session. We will continue as planned.
Mr. Chairman, may I be recognized, sir? Mr. Chairman, I appeal to the chair to recognize myself or one of my colleagues.
You're out of order.
Mr. Chairman, I appeal to be recognized on your sense of decency and integrity. Even the documents you have requested, Mr. Chairman, even the ones that you said, the limited documents you have requested, this committee has not received. And the documents we have, you, sir, have labeled committee confidential. They should be transparent. This committee, sir, is a violation of even the values I've heard you talk about time and time again, the ideals that we should have. What is the rush? What are we trying to hide by not having the documents out front? What is with the rush? What are we hiding by not letting those documents come out? Sir, this committee is a violation of the values that we as a committee have striven for, transparency. We are rushing through this process in a way that is unnecessary. And I appeal for the motion to at least be voted on.
Mr. Chairman.
At least let's have a vote, because when we wrote you a letter on August 24th asking to have a meeting on this issue, you denied us even the right to meet. So here we are having a meeting. Let's at least debate this issue. Let's at least call this for a vote. I appeal to your sense of fairness and decency, your commitments that you've made to transparency. This violates what you have even said and called for, sir. You've called for documents, you yourself, limited documents. We thought there should be more. We have not received the documents that you have even called for. So, sir, based upon your own principles, your own values, I call for at least to have a debate or a vote on these issues and not for us to rush through this process.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I've heard calls for regular order.
I'd like to respond to Senator Booker. Senator Booker, I think that I respect very much a lot of things you do, but you spoke about my decency and you spoke about my decency and integrity, and I think you are taking advantage of my decency and integrity. So. Okay.
The order, it is regular order for us to receive all the documents, that this committee is entitled to.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it is also,
I think
Mr. Chairman, it is also not regular order for the majority to require the minority to pre-clear our questions, our documents, and the videos we would like to use at this hearing. That is unprecedented. That is not regular order. Since when do we have to submit the questions and the process that we wish to follow to question this nominee? So I'd like your clarification. I'd like your response on why you are requesting the minority to submit our questions to
I ask that you stop so we can conduct this hearing the way we have planned it. Maybe it isn't going exactly the way that the minority would like to have it go, but we have said for a long period of time that we were going to proceed on this very day, and I think we ought to give the American people the opportunity to hear whether Judge Kavanaugh should be on the Supreme Court or not. And you have heard my side of the aisle call for regular order, and I think we ought to proceed in regular order. There will be plenty of opportunities to respond to the questions that the minority is legitimately raising, and we will proceed accordingly.
Judge, have you ever discussed Special Counsel Mueller or his investigation with anyone?
Well, it's in the news every day.
Have you discussed it with anyone?
With other judges, I know.
Have you discussed Mueller or his investigation with anyone at Kasowitz, Benson, and Torres, the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz, President Trump's personal lawyer? Be sure about your answer, sir.
Well, I'm not remembering, but if you have something you want to
Are you certain you've not had a conversation
said
with
I-
anyone at that law firm?
Kasowitz, Benson.
Kasowitz, Benson, and
Yeah.
Torres, which is the law firm founded by Mark Kasowitz,
Yeah.
who is President Trump's personal lawyer. Have you had any conversation about Robert Mueller or his investigation with anyone at that firm? Yes or no?